featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Every Friday, tune into Texas Ticket on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM with Armando Nino of Gull Lake Conroe, focusing on Montgomery County area events and places. Get a feel of the Texas spirit at the event, paired with guest and vendor interviews, event coverage, and ticket giveaways, and so much more. Join us Fridays and punch your Texas ticket. For more information on the show, visit irlonestar.com/Texas Ticket.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com. All right, Mornings of Lone Star here on Lone Star Community Radio, worldwide, irlonestar.com. And, of course, our app, just look up Lone Star Community Radio. This is Dick, your morning show host, and if you're hearing my voice right now on Conroe's FM or online, that means we're broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook, too. So if you want to join us there, because that means we have a special guest coming into the studio, we're going to talk about a book. That's right, a book. But we're also going to talk about, it was igniting, she's giving me cues. I love this. Reignite the Adventure Within with Secrets from My Travel Diaries. So we have, you're holding it up. I'm going to pull the video up. Hold your horses, jeez. In the studio, we got Stacey Abella in the studio, the author, local author, speaker, clarity coach, all that kind of stuff. She's holding up her book. You can see it right there. Look at that. And if you're watching or listening on our podcast, YouTube, I put a link to where to buy the book, a link where you can find Stacey, all the stuff she does. So, Stacey, welcome to Mornings of Lone Star. This isn't your first visit to the studios, but I'm excited to have you in.
Me too. Thank you, Dick.
Well, that's one of those things where what I enjoy when we have guests on other shows, I can listen to the interview. So when I have the interview with them, I ask so many better questions than the previous one you were on. So I always like to do a little research because I believe you were on Conroe Culture News.
Yes, I was.
And
so we're going deeper. I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, traveling is not my immediate thing that I think of doing at all. I come off as I despise traveling to anybody, really, but it's not the truth. Like, it's not like I don't enjoy traveling. It's more of I much prefer to do something else. And then the only time I travel is if it's like someone's making me do it or I have to do it. But when I have to do it, I have fun. Mm-hmm. And like one time I got in trouble with my mother because we went to Chicago for my great-grandmother's funeral, and I wanted to go see a couple things around Chicago. And she's like, this isn't a vacation, Richard. Mm-hmm. This is a funeral. And I'm like, yeah, the funeral's only like 2 hours.
Yes.
Like,
so you want to see a little bit.
So I want to see a little bit.
That sounds fair.
Yeah, it's actually, it was during the time when the Chicago Bulls, I think they won their third championship. And I was just old enough to where I could kind of be on my own, but not driving on my own. So they weren't really encouraging of like, you can't go out to the streets for the party. I'm like, why not? People are partying in the streets. You ever seen one of those, I'm talking about when they win championships?
Absolutely.
But you wrote a book. You worked in the corporate world from what I remember. And do you still work in the corporate world?
Not anymore.
As like a, do you get a paycheck from a corporation?
I am an entrepreneur.
So there you go. And you wrote a book that kind of focuses on the idea of, you can correct me, it's kind of like you're taking a vacation mentally to recoup who you are. Is that a way to describe it?
That's a way to describe it.
Okay, how would you describe it?
Yes. So this book, it's called Secrets from My Travel Diaries because it is based upon my diaries from when I was 21. And at that time, it was a pivotal time in life. And many people I find resonate with that idea of 21 or around that time being a pivotal time. And so I wrote about studying overseas and traveling at that time. And I wrote it with a question about what does that experience mean later in life? Not just what it meant now.
When you made out with Alfonso, like you're going to reflect back when you're 21, like, oh, Alfonso, oh, I miss him.
Yeah, all those experiences, right? All those experiences that you have at that time.
I miss him.
You just have to, collect those. But the unique thing is, in writing about them, then I can reflect back on them now as if they were yesterday, because oftentimes they were, or they had just happened, right? And what that gives you is an awareness. It gives you an opportunity to look at who you were then and what you thought life was and what you thought your life would be, and to really think about that, reflect on that, and realize that you can reinvent yourself today in whatever way that you want to. Realize that the limits are in your own mind.
See, I like that, because a lot of people, when you start doing those steps, they get immediately depressed most of the time, because it's like, oh, I was young and I was having fun, and now I'm, digging a ditch. And then it's like, what do I do? But I know we had some conversations before we went on the air, and I've always looked at traveling as an opportunity to just meet people.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm afraid to go to any place that doesn't speak English. And that's kind of been my kind of rule. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable because I can't really talk to anybody. And then especially in an emergency, I'm like, well, I'm screwed. And but traveling doesn't necessarily have to be 5,000 miles.
That's right.
And what would you say between your 21-year-old self and today when it comes to picking a place? How vastly different do you think you two are?
It wouldn't necessarily even have to be a vastly different place, but it is going to be a different experience.
Okay.
Because when you think about living out of a backpack, going through Europe, and in the book, we wash dishes at our university, right, to earn money for our Eurail pass and things. And then we go off and we're doing everything on the cheap, right?
Yeah.
And there was a certain experience with that. But at the same time, I think there's also another experience you can have when you have a little bit more means, or even if you just have a different interest.
Yeah.
At this point than you did then, right? And so it's not really about the place, but about the experience. And like you said, the people that you meet along the way, and those are going to be different based upon where you are in life.
Yeah, because it's kind of funny. I had a lot of friends who were missionaries. They do the temporary missionary stuff. And when I would talk to them, I was like, what drives you to do that? And especially returning. Like the first time I could see it, because it's like, I want to go to Africa or go to somewhere like that. But the people, some of them kept going, and then it became like a second family. And then that was their vacation or their travel, was like when they go, hey, I have free time, I'm traveling to this one place every year, never changing that. And they build stuff or do that kind of thing. But then you have other people who do a lot of, like one of my best friends, he just likes going to the beach. That's what he does. Any beach, he's there. And I was hanging out with him this weekend, and I even said to him, I was like, you're probably one of the few people I know who actually likes going just to the beach. Because everyone kind of says, oh, let's go to Cabo or whatever. But it's like, no, he just wants to go to a beach. So it could be any beach. Yeah. And doing that kind of stuff. So you're saying that when you're older, you have more means because you probably had a job, you have more money and things like that. It's also the social structure is different. Because I imagine at a young age when you're traveling, everyone looks at you like, oh, this girl just doesn't know she's so young. She has no idea what she's doing. And then when you're older, everyone's kind of like, oh, she's got money. Let's see how much money we can get from her.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, people can do that at any time, right? Because it's all relative.
Okay.
Right? I mean, even if you're a backpacker, you still probably have more, right? As long as money comes out of the wall right through the ATM. I mean, you've got something, right? But at the same time, yeah, I think that it's all about the experience that you want. And maybe when you're younger, some of what you might do is explore more, and you might not know what you want, but you want to see it. Kind of like your experience in Chicago. You didn't know what you would find there, but you just want to experience
the chaos.
that.
Well, it's unique. There were so many people, and I was like, why can't I go over there?
Right.
Which I understand now. It's my mom was like, yeah, you're probably gonna get lost and kidnapped, and I was like, no way.
Right.
I just won't tell them we're from Houston, and then we're fine. You know?
No one will know, right?
Yeah, because they hate the Rockets. So it's like kind of like being an Astros fan. You just don't tell people that because people hate the Astros. But so let me ask you this: with your book, if I purchase it, what am I getting? What am I reading about? It's like your diaries and just your experiences and reflections, things like that.
So about 2/3 of it is based from the diaries, but it's crafted into travel stories with life lessons.
Okay.
And the other 1/3 or so is really my reflections now. So it's a story within a story. It's twice in life going to say, who am I? And asking that question and looking for the answer. So I think what you can get from the book is if you want to travel vicariously, you can travel.
You mean through
Europe.
like social media stuff?
Well, no.
Or would it be vicariously? Like
Vicarious. Like if you want to feel like you're going to Europe in your mind, you can gain that through the book.
Okay.
You know? And I've had people that either maybe can't travel at this point in their life that just they feel like when someone tells me I felt like I was there when they read my work, that's the highest compliment.
So it's like Ernest Hemingway.
That I could get. I love that. Thank you.
Because I know when I read him, I'm like, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, I am a big admirer of Ernest Hemingway. I agree.
I can feel the sweat.
Yes. And he writes kind of in short sentences, short paragraphs. And that's intentionally how I wrote the book because I wanted it to seem like it was just being written kind of fragmented.
As it's happening.
Yeah, as it's happening on a train afterwards, you know, and so you can, it's fast reading. That's what I wanted it to be, but fast reading, but then a big impact. Like I want you to have a shift with every chapter that you read. I want you to feel that life lesson. I want you to feel what it was like to be in that experience. And I want you to come out changed, better. I want your life to be better.
Well, it's already better. What are you saying I'm lacking?
It's
Are you
not
saying
about
I'm lacking something?
No, it's not about lacking. It's just you can always get better, right?
Oh,
and
true.
that's part of what it is we're living in this world of such abundance, but we see lack so often.
Well, what I see people doing is they don't remember. So when you think about those life lessons, or you think about the I guess these characters that are characteristics that you want to keep in you, people forget that.
Yeah.
And then when the same kind of challenges come up, you forget those important lessons, and then you make the same mistakes, or you make a worse mistake. That's what I kind of see happening.
Good point. Yes. Yes.
So basically, we just need to start tattooing our reminders on us. So.
Well, or start to journal.
Yeah.
You know, write a little bit, just even if it's just a couple of sentences every day, just capture that. And so then you can, when you look back later, you'll see what struck you on that day, and it just helps you to remember.
It's kind of like you just become a musician and just write songs so you can remind yourself of all the times you've been so sad. But happy, though. Let's talk about happy stuff. So your book's primarily happy, but it's more of introspect. The way I kind of looked at it when I read a couple pages of it, because you were here on Margie's show, so I looked it up.
I was. Yeah.
And it's more of the thing that starts it is the travel part. Like it's the unknown, and you can insert XY place.
Right.
And then through stepping onto that, that's where the experience comes from, and the life lesson isn't necessarily the place; it's the experience at the place.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of fun. One idea of traveling. So, but I'm still not going to change.
That's okay.
I'm not gonna have fun with traveling. I think, but then again, I will. I know I do.
Yeah, I think you do. And the idea is you don't have to travel because you can gain the life lesson by my story becoming your story.
Mm-hmm. And that's by me reading your book.
Exactly.
What is sale, right there? Yeah, you don't have to go anywhere. Just read my book.
Yeah.
Just read my book.
Or if you want travel tips, you can also read my book, and
That's
there's
true.
all kinds of travel tips in there too.
Yeah. What's your biggest travel tip? How about that? Oh, I got to read the book. Okay, I get it. You're trying to sell the book.
Yes,
all right, you can buy the book.
absolutely.
Right there's a link.
We won't tell you yet.
Well, like Ernest Hemingway always taught me, is like no matter where you are, just be drinking,
Yes.
and you'll always have an
Yes.
adventure.
Yes, that is true. And in fact, as I was starting to write this book, I went to the Hemingway house and
Oh, wow.
I got a T-shirt, and it said, "Write drunk, edit sober," on the shirt. And that was of such help to me because I was trying, and I hear a lot of people do this. When you write a book, you start writing and you're trying to correct grammar and you're
Well, you
starting
pump
to
the
go
brakes
back.
a lot when
Yeah,
you're sober.
exactly.
And then when you're
But-
having, it depends on who you are. Ernest Hemingway, I feel like he's just a pain in the butt to really know.
Probably
Like his books
so.
are great. I love him. But
Probably so.
when I'm thinking to myself, if I had to hang out with this guy for like more than a night, I don't know. Like if I had to wake up with him, I don't know about that.
But he did have a very helpful T-shirt.
Yeah.
Just pour out the words. Just pour it out unencumbered.
And then he shot him out because he shot himself.
Well, yeah. But he had an amazing life.
Yeah, he definitely put a period on it.
He had an amazing
It's
life.
over, guys. That guy's wild. I love it. And but all that kind of stuff is really interesting, especially authors. I huge respect for you for writing a book.
Thank you.
I think it's wonderful, and you basically wrote it, and I imagine you went to an editor or something like because you need someone else to read it.
Yes.
Because what genre is your book? What would you consider it? Is it nonfiction? So it's because it sounds like a more of a like.
It's a memoir.
Okay, so I took a class that was all about memoirs, and it was terrible because we had to write our own.
Ah.
So
I'd like to read that.
well, some of them were like really. The thing I don't like about memoirs sometimes, especially if it's real depressing stuff, is there's a lot of context. And I remember one book I was reading that she was writing it in the perspective of her 9-year-old self. So it reminded me. I don't know if you ever read the book Life of Pi.
Yeah.
So you remember kind of like this things happening to this kid, and it's from a kid's perspective. So after I finished the memoir, we're all having the conversation about all these tragedies. I'm like, wait, that was a tragedy? Wait, did I miss something? Like, well, that red blanket represented something that a young kid didn't understand. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't understand it either. So it totally went over my head.
Right.
She's dead? And I was like, I didn't know she died. This book's terrible. But your book is about traveling, so it's not about that. So, right? There's no death. Is there death in it?
No.
No one ever died on your travels?
No.
No, my mother travels with her sister, and one time she called and she's like, someone died on the boat. And I was like, what happens when you die in another country?
Yeah. It's
Especially on a boat.
It's
And
very
they're like, yeah, like we had to stop. Like everything got stopped for half a day because they're trying to figure out where to put the body, where to transfer the body. And I think it was either a Mexican guy or a U.S. guy. But they said they came from America, but they wanted to go to Mexico with the body. It was really weird. And so don't die when you're traveling.
It is something to avoid.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But so let's talk about your experiences. It sounds like you're a traveler, hence the book. Where are your favorite places to go today?
So I love, kind of like you talked about going to the beach. I love that. I get a lot of energy from the beach, a lot of inspiration. I especially like sunrise on the beach is just a beautiful, undisturbed time to get a lot of inspiration. And so I value that. I love going places with my family and being able to have them learn about a place and learn about the people there. That's very important because it's a value that I have that I gained really when I was 21 and I was traveling. I saw the value of just hearing people's perspectives from different countries, different places, and just allowing that to change the way you think about things, the way you see the world.
Yeah, because I think that's a fun idea is talking to people from other countries, and then having I would say base starters for conversations. Like, how do you guys serve your tea? Those kind of things, because everyone kind of does it differently. And then what I love about Australia is the toilet water goes the other way. And it's these little things
Right.
you don't know, and then when you learn, it's like, what impact does that really have on you? But it's also that's kind of crazy that the world works differently here in these little things. So I think and then you don't know those. You start learning those things slowly,
Right.
unless you're just talking to this one person who knows everything about their country. And
Well, most of the time, maybe something like that, but you don't know why. Like, think about why the water goes the other way, right? It might be if you're driving on the other side of the road, right? What perspective do you have, right side versus left side? And then how does that affect your psychology? I mean, there's a whole study around language psychology that I think is truly fascinating.
Yeah, especially like in Louisiana. Those people are really weird, and their history is really deep. Have you ever been to Louisiana?
I love Louisiana.
Yeah, me too. No, I love like the idea, especially like from understanding what the French really do there before Louisiana became Louisiana, and then also the local folks
So rich.
before
Such rich
them.
culture.
And it's a little weird. And plus, there's voodoo, so voodoo is always cool. Kind of.
Fascinating.
Yeah. You ever been to one of those kind of folks over there, like the palm reader kind of people?
I have been.
You ever found one time I was there and we literally found a chicken bone, I don't know, like placement. It was like in an alley. And I was like, what's this? And you look down and it literally had like the blood marks and the chicken bone placements. And I was like, no way. No way. And it was.
Well, you were very observant.
Yeah, well, good thing I didn't step on it because I don't know if that was like a curse or something.
Yeah, that was probably not good.
But it was cool. It was a little spooky. I was like, we gotta get out of here because if this is just I don't know what, we're always in alleyways when when I travel. So it's one of those.
There must be something to read into that. I don't know.
I would just kidding around. So yeah, and I encourage people to check. If you're just now tuning in, we have Stacey Abella in the studio talking about her book, and also you are a speaker. So if you are a business or you have a group or anything like that, you can ask Stacey to speak about your experiences and how they can apply to people's lives.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
And pay you lots of money. Right?
Well, yes.
You
of
charge.
course.
All right, good. Making sure. People when they hear it, they're like, oh, it's free, right? No, it's not. Because those experiences weren't free.
They took a lot.
What was your most expensive experience, you would say, like emotionally?
Emotionally.
Yeah.
Well, one example would be in the book would be when I was paragliding in the Alps.
Okay.
And that was something that it was very expensive at the time in terms of monetary because, we didn't have a lot. It was a big splurge, but it was just this glorious, beautiful day. And
Yeah.
we had this opportunity to go, and so we took it. But then, of course, as you're going up the mountain, you're kind of like, was this such a good idea that we actually decided to do this? And then when we arrived, my friend's parachute was kind of tangled up, and so they said, "Okay, just take off running across this hill, and then you'll be off." And unfortunately, she wasn't because the parachute was tangled. And so then my guide quickly said, "Okay, let's just keep going." And so before I knew it, we were off, right? Because before you have time to panic. And then it was the next emotional toll was, am I going to lose my camera, right? Because he said, "Oh, here, let's take some photos. You need some photos." And of course, we're way up in the sky and things, but he was an expert at that. And so then secured the camera after getting a few photos, including a couple with my, he showed you how you kind of put your feet out and take the picture so you can kind of see that you're really in the air and everything. And then it was a matter of, then after all that just anticipation and fear and should we have done this and things, then it was just this just beautiful peace and calm that came, and just this incredible panorama that you couldn't get in any other way. And so that's an example of just an incredible freeing experience that came from overcoming fear.
Yeah, I always wondered if people, like you said, you had the guy with you. And like similar to skydiving people, like I always wondered because the first experience is just like how you described. But people who do it all the time, I wonder what happens with their perspective. Because it's kind of weird to me. It's like at one point you kind of saw it already, right? But then they go, what's the next step?
Yes.
What's the next step?
How can you top it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And especially the experiences, and that's interesting to me because the different people. That's how you can tell the difference between people. Really, it's like I've been skydiving, only doing it once,
right?
And then you got people who are like, let's do it with like 10 other people, and then we can make little shapes in the sky, and you're like, why are we going to be doing that?
Yes, yes. I saw someone who was doing it, eating a hamburger. That was really, I don't know how he even held
Yeah.
on.
But I mean, like that's just it become like those experiences become the norm for some people.
Yeah.
And I wonder what those people need to encounter to have a new experience.
That can become a challenge.
Yeah.
Because you're always chasing the next adrenaline. So I think that's where enjoying the now is so important.
Yeah.
Because it's just, stop and just be grateful. Like that experience in the paragliding, it's like, wow, this is incredible.
Have you done anything similar to that?
I have gone skydiving.
Okay.
and
Was it
as
kind of
well.
similar? It's a little too fast.
It's way faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's way
It's
faster.
gravity. It's happening.
But once the parachute comes, once
Yeah.
you get the parachute, then, it's the experience. Although I felt like I couldn't hear anything anymore, right? Because your ears just get so plugged up from going
I can't.
so fast.
That's
your
so
face
much
is like,
fun.
But that was incredible too. And kind of like you said, I didn't feel the need to do it again after that though.
Well, that's what I love. That's how you can tell the difference between people. It's like,
that's
know,
true.
you're encountering these experiences and everyone has a different experience. Even if it's 1,000 people do the same thing every day, but there's thousands of different experiences with it.
That's right.
So I think that's kind of the beauty that you wrote a book about yours and that's what you use as a tool for helping people reflect on their own selves.
Exactly.
And, a lot of people I don't think do that to the depth of where they learn something.
Right.
And even if it's about a bad story, even like, because you don't always have to tell the good stories. You can tell a bad story, and people will learn from that.
Absolutely.
So,
And it's not even really about good and bad, because when you zoom out, like later in life, I mean, what you thought was the worst thing could have actually been the best thing for you, right? I mean, oftentimes from the failures come the
I know
biggest
exactly what you're
successes,
talking about.
right?
Yes.
And so it's really about learning from that and remembering what that was like at the time, and then where you've gone from there. So yeah, but I agree. I mean, that's really why I wanted to write the book, is that I wanted to share, and I know that most people, they wouldn't have diaries like I have, right? I mean, a lot of people have come to me saying, oh, I used to have my diary when I was in Europe, and I had a similar experience, but I don't know where it is, or I burned it, or, I never
Burned it,
wrote.
huh? I like that.
Yeah.
Alfonso really had an impact
Yeah,
on her.
there you
She
go.
wanted to forget that.
Just forget it.
Did you have an Alfonso?
Well, yeah.
You did? See, that's what I love. Everyone has that. And
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Everyone does. It's part of the experience. It's part of the emotion
Yeah.
of just being in another place, and it's part of how you learn.
to me, that's pretty wild. But
Yeah.
I get it. But I love it. So where's your next travel? Where are you going next?
Well, so the holidays are coming up.
That's
so
true.
It's time to, again, I think, go to the beach with my family.
I love it.
And another thing I've been really wanting to do is I was in Peace Corps in Nicaragua. So
Oh,
maybe
cool.
that's a little bit like your mission trip example that you had. And so I've been really wanting to go back there and just see what's changed, to check in with my people, and also to show my kids and my family that experience.
Yeah, because that's me personally. Is I like the constants when it comes to traveling. Like I feel so much more comfortable allowing. Like I told you, Galveston is one of my constants because my mother's from there. My grandfather. I went there every summer for 3 months, and then we go every other month to see my grandfather, stay with him, and he fished all the time, and it became a place where I can mentally just relax, and I don't have to worry about anything. And that to me is like a travel. That's vacation
Beautiful.
for me.
Yeah.
And some people are different. Some people like, hey, we got to be on the go. We got to go to Paris. I'm like, we got to do that. I'm like, no, we don't have to do that. But then I told you, the soccer stuff sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, but that's what you value. And
Yeah.
that's really what it's about, is finding what do you value? What experience do you want to have? And then creating that
Yeah.
experience. Because even on vacation, kind of as you alluded to, and you can, if you're stressed at work and then you go on vacation, you could just bring the stress along with you and just be
especially if you have a
running
family.
around. Yeah.
Because someone's always got to be the backbone of the trip.
True.
So it's like, how do you manage that? And then just do yoga every morning, and then you'll be fine.
Well, but exactly. I mean, you can build the experience that you want. You don't have to have a crazy, stressful time. You bring that energy into it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I like being alone.
All right, then.
But it's wonderful. I love it. Stacey, I put the link to your website, and people who are listening, it's Stacey Abella. That's ABELLA.com. It's StaceyAbella.com to find the book and find how to contact her and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for being with me. Anything else you want to talk about?
I just want to give a shout out to our local community
Yeah.
because it's just been so incredible being a part of this community. So I, for a long time, was in corporate America, and I think you just, as you're driving down the street, right, you're driving to the corporate office, you're driving more often than not to the airport. And now that I am an entrepreneur in all these wonderful networks that we have here, I'm seeing how many people I drove past that are just so incredible to be amongst now. And so I was recently the recipient of the, announced last week, of the WISE Conference, Women Inspiring and Supporting Entrepreneurs Conference Scholarship.
That's a long name.
It
I know the
That's why
WISE
it's an
Conference.
acronym.
Yeah, I know the WISE Conference.
And so that was just an incredible opportunity. I am so grateful for that. I'm grateful for the Chambers of Commerce to be a part, and just they've done so much for my business, and also MCABW, Carol Gooch, and the Network in Action, Stacey Harris. And so
Shout out to Stacey. I haven't seen Stacey in a long time. Next time you see her, say hello for me.
I will. And see, that's what I love, is that you know all these people, and we're just such a great network. And so I just encourage anyone that is an entrepreneur in the community, if you're not really a part of this community in the way
you gotta
that
jump
I've become.
in.
Jump in. Yes. It's just so rich. It's about business, but it's also about lifelong friendships and just being a part of a tribe.
We're just missing a beach,
That's true.
right? I think there might be a beach on the
true.
lake somewhere. I always
Lake Conroe.
Yeah, on Lake Conroe. I always wondered there was some rich dude that has a house, and he's like, I'm gonna put a beach where his house is on the lake. He like builds a beach, and people are like, why is there a beach over here at the lake?
Yeah.
But
Why not?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would come.
he probably, and then you'd probably have a gun and be like, get off my property. But yeah, thank you so much, Stacey, for coming in. And again, you're a speaker, so you're for hire to motivate teams, groups, and just kind of connect people. And then also you have a book. Are you working on another book?
Yes.
You are? Is
Yes,
it about
I am.
traveling, or is it more of
It's about clarity.
clarity? Mm-hmm. Okay, so
Yes.
life clarity.
Yes, correct. Yes, getting life clarity. But of course, it has many stories, and stories about travel, stories about work, stories about life experiences. Because what I've found is you need to be intentional about your life. Otherwise, it passes you by. You know, my company is called Wind in Your Sails Consulting, because I find you can roll with the waves for a long time. But until you have your compass pointing in the right direction, then you're just not going where you want to go.
Okay, well, thanks for reminding me that I don't have a compass. And
Well, we can work on that.
I'm just kidding. You're listening to Mornings of Lone Star here on Lone Star Community Radio. We're going to get back to the music. You can always be a guest, or if you want a song request, just reach out to us, Mornings of Lone Star. I do want to remind folks, yesterday we had the National Night Out. That's tonight at Kroger's at the South Loop. It's going to start around 5 o'clock. It's family friendly. It's free. There's going to have foods, hot dogs, all that kind of stuff. And you get to meet the police officers that are going to arrest your kids. So, which is nice. You always got to have that in before they get older, right? That's what. No, I'm just kidding. But they're fine police officers here in the Montgomery County area. So don't forget, today is National Night Out. We're going to get back to the music here on Lone Star Community Radio.
Does volunteering at a nonprofit horse sanctuary sound wonderful? Or are you a veteran or a veteran spouse and think trying a peer group session through a local Horses and Heroes equine program might be worth trying?